Hello and welcome to Culture on I-24 News. I'm Oded Grober, and today we've got a real treat, a conversation with musician Booker T. Jones. Jones is a pioneer of R&B and Southern Soul, releasing his first album in 1962 with his band Booker T and the MGs. He has since built an impressive career playing with some of the biggest names in music, winning several Grammys and a Lifetime Achievement Award. On January 7th, he'll play his first ever show in Israel at the Yahalom Theater in Ramat Gan, and I'm very excited to have him here in the studio. Hi, Booker. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, you're very welcome, Oded. Thank you for having me.
So I want to start with something that happened a couple of years ago. You played what I think must have been a very special show to an audience that included President Barack Obama. Let's watch a short clip from that, and I want to hear from you all about it after.
Sure.
All I cry, a big black woman gonna carry me to my grave. Born in a bad time, I've been dead since I began to crawl. Wasn't for bad luck.
So it looks like you're having a good time. How did it feel?
It was great there. We were in a historic place. We were in the East Room of the White House and playing for a very relaxed President and First Lady and entourage, people who don't get out very much.
Yeah. It's always nice to have a very appreciating crowd.
Exactly.
He seems to enjoy himself as well. He really likes the music.
He did. He appreciated it. He's from Chicago.
Did you get a chance to talk to him a little?
Yes, he came down earlier in the day and hung out with us a little during our sound check and our rehearsal.
Very cool. Now, he's not the only big name that you got in touch with. You played with really some of the greats, you know, Otis Redding, Neil Young, Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, just to name a very, very few of a very long list. Now, when you started playing with these big names, were you nervous? How did this feel, going on stage with someone of that caliber?
My career was very fortunate in that I started with people who developed into big names. Otis Redding was a valet when I met him. He was carrying suitcases and going to get food for a band named Johnny and the Pine Toppers, Johnny Jenkins and the Pine Toppers. So he wasn't a big name when we met. And we became friends, and in the process, he became a star.
Yeah.
But I must admit, I was a little nervous walking into the East Room of the White House.
I bet. Is there someone that you've played with that you always thought should be a star, would be a star, and that hasn't happened? Is there some hidden talent that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, well, that's a great question. There are many great entertainers in the world who are unknown. The industry only lets a few greats through, and so a number of them languish on the streets, and you can find great talent on the street corners. I can't name one in particular right now, but it's unfortunate that there is so little room for greatness.
Also, how about now? Is there someone that you still wish you could play with, or are you now in the business of, you know, getting other musicians excited about the notion of playing with you?
Well, I'm playing with my son right now, my son Ted Jones, who shows so much promise, and he has learned so quickly. He's only been playing for 3 years.
Wow.
And we hope to have a great future together. We're playing on stage now, and he was, in the U.S., what we call a soccer player.
Yeah.
And he switched over to music, and he shows the same promise in music that he did in soccer.
Okay, is that something that you would encourage him to do?
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right.
Absolutely. He's got the acumen. Yeah.
Now, when you go and play with someone else, do you adapt to their style? or how much of your style do you bring to when you're actually accompanying someone else?
Well, very often I'm hired for what I do, which is usually play Hammond B3 organ.
Yeah.
Sometimes I come in as an arranger or as a producer or as a guitarist, but most of the time I'm called to play Hammond B3. And so my sound goes into their sound. My sound melds into their sound.
I see.
And the Hammond is a good instrument for that because it has so many possibilities for sounds.
Yeah, you really can produce amazing things with it. But is that, you didn't start off with that, right? Well, you started playing at a very early age. What instrument did you start with?
I was a tiny little guy with a drum and a ukulele. I promptly broke the head of the drum. And I started learning the chords on the back of the instructions of the ukulele, and that led to a Sears Silvertone guitar.
Okay.
So I started my career basically as a guitarist.
At the age of?
At the age of about 7, 8 years old.
That's early to start a career.
But I couldn't get into Stax Records playing guitar, so I told them I could play keyboards. I had taken piano lessons.
Okay.
So my career as a session player, as we call it, began when I was 15 years old on piano, playing piano and baritone saxophone.
And when did the organ get into the picture?
The organ came in a couple of years later when we recorded the song Green Onions for Booker T and the MGs, 1962.
Now that little known tune, at the age of 18 you recorded it?
I was 17.
17? You know what, let's watch a clip of you and the MGs playing Green Onions back in the day, and we'll hear more. So at the age of 17, you write what some would say is, you know, would be your most recognized tune. Someone that I don't think there's anyone who walks the earth that hasn't heard it at some point in his life. Does it frustrate you though that at such an early age you do something that's so recognizable?
Oh, I was fortunate to do it then. The industry is hard to get into, and I was fortunate to have a hit record at such an early age. I was fortunate to have a hit record at any age.
That's
but
absolutely
at 17,
true.
it was fortuitous.
Yeah.
Because it defined my life and my career, and that's still one of my favorite songs to perform.
Is it?
It is. I like the song.
You're not sick of it? You're not tired of hearing it?
No,
playing
it's
it?
deceptively simple, and I try to play it the way I did originally, and it's not that easy.
Okay, so it's there are some changes that are happening throughout the years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, I think the first time I heard it was on a soundtrack. I mean, during a movie or
Really?
something. And your music
American Graffiti was the George
could
Lucas
be American
movies?
Graffiti. Your music in general is being used a lot in films and television. Do you like that? Do you like when you watch something in your music?
I do. I like it. It's lucrative.
I'm sure you like that aspect of it. But other than that,
It is. It's gratifying. It's something that I dreamt of as a boy. I dreamt that I would be someone who could go to Hollywood and write music for films.
Yeah.
And it was an ambition of mine, actually.
Yeah, and playing soul, playing R&B, these genres, are those the genres that you always wanted to play? Did you know that's what you want to do?
Well, the first music I studied was classical music. My first teacher, my mother, was a classical pianist. She played Chopin and Liszt in the house, and that was the music I heard as a baby.
Interesting.
Yeah, my grandmother was a music teacher, and my first music lesson was actually Bach.
So going towards soul and R&B, that's other influences?
Yes, well, our churches were gospel churches, and so the gospel churches were basically religious music in a bluesy with a bluesy shade, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. And because I also reading up and researching this interview, I saw that you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well.
Yes. That was another fortuitous event, 1993.
Would you say that you played rock and roll?
No. But the music that we played, I think, influenced a little bit of the early rock and roll.
I'm sure it did. Great amount of influence, I think, from soul and R&B and rock and roll. Can you see that direct influence?
I do. My guitarist, Steve Cropper, at the time, I think had a large influence on some of the European and British rock guitarists. The rhythm style that he established was picked up by members of bands like the Rolling Stones and possibly the Faces or the Beatles, and I think he established the style, actually, Steve Cropper.
Now you guys even recorded a whole album as a homage to the Beatles.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
How did that happen? The influence of the Beatles coming from the UK on Southern soul, on R&B. That's not an obvious influence.
That was my idea. It was not a very popular idea at the time. It was 1971, but I thought in the early 70s that the Beatles had reached more than an apex in their career. I felt that they had contributed so much to music, and they had gone beyond the call of duty. They were huge stars. They could have stopped at any time, and they continued to cultivate their art. And I thought that was great. So I wanted to pay tribute to them.
Yeah.
So we recorded an album called Macklemore Avenue, which was a tribute basically to their Abbey Road album.
Yeah. And also the cover of it is a
in
tribute as well.
In every aspect, yeah.
Yeah. You know, for many years, you and the MGs were playing with other artists as well, Stax Record session band. And you were not a household name, let's say.
No.
And it seems that in recent years, you're getting more recognition for all the work that you did throughout the years.
Yes.
Do you feel that's an accurate description? And what do you think changed? At what point did you start getting more recognized?
About 2 or 3 years ago, in so many ways, I can use the word payback. It's just it's just a fortuitous turn of events. The music that we recorded, we're fortunate enough that it's had a long life.
It did, and it still does. And I wanted also to ask, what do you think about this music? Makes it so lasting? What gives it its lasting power?
Well, most of it is accessible, and a lot of it is danceable.
Yeah.
And
I think fun is a key word.
Yes, it's fun music. It
Yeah.
makes you feel good. It's fun to listen to, and I'm still not tired of it.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So if you're not tired of it, let's hear some more music.
Exactly.
Something a little more recent from your solo album, The Road from Memphis, Progress. Let's hear a little bit from that. So before we get to the solo career, and we're running a little bit out of time, but I want to ask you. I read that you just missed Woodstock.
Woodstock was not very well organized. They didn't realize that the roads were not big enough for the crowd that was coming.
Right.
And so the roads were crowded with people, and you couldn't drive there.
Yeah.
So the only way into Woodstock was by helicopter, and I had a drummer who refused to get on a helicopter. They came to us at the club we were playing at. I said, "You want to play Woodstock, but you have to go up on a helicopter." And he said, "Not me. I'm not getting on a helicopter." So we didn't play.
I'm sure that he also feels terrible about that. Have you ever forgiven him?
I absolutely forgave him for that. It was Al Jackson, the great drummer. Absolutely.
So you gotta.
That's what happened.
Yeah. Well, unrelated, or maybe related to this story, you did transition from working with the MGs to a solo career. How did that happen? Was it an easy transition for you?
Well, times are changing. I met new people.
Yeah.
I'm working with younger people now, and I unfortunately have lost a number of my compatriots from the 60s, Otis Redding and Donald Duck Dunn, who you just saw there, and Al Jackson Jr. They're not with us anymore.
Yeah.
So I have new people. I have great new people.
Yeah.
And that's just the way of the world.
And you're at 71, you're touring all the time. I see. Are you having fun with it, or are you tired a little bit and wanna sit at home?
I'm having a great time. I'm having a wide variety of people come to my show, young and old, and I'm doing what I feel I'm here to do. So I'm enjoying it.
I'm very glad that you are and that we all get the opportunity to enjoy it as well. What can we expect from the show, upcoming show in Tel Aviv, your first ever in Israel?
Well, the show is a picture of my life. I play songs that I was involved in the inception of, either as a songwriter or as a session man, songs that I played on or songs that influenced me.
There's a lot to look forward to. Booker T, I got to thank you again for coming in. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you for having me, Oded. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. That's it from us for today. I hope you enjoyed the show at least as much as I did and that you'll attend the show. See you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.